Hello, this is Erin Curette from www.littlecircles.net. It's been about 6 months since the last video I posted here on YouTube, where I showed you the basic quilling supplies and what you do with them. Today I want to go over some advanced quilling supplies. These are absolutely non-essential quilling supplies, but they do enhance your experience and make quilling a little bit more fun. If you've been quilling for a while and you're ready to step it up, these items might be something you want to look into and use. I know they definitely spur my creativity. Some of these items are a little bit luxe, as in they might be a little bit pricey for the everyday quiller, but with every example I'm going to show you today, there is an alternative that you can make at home, and in future tutorials I'll show you how to do that. For everything that's a little pricey. Alright, so the first thing I want to show you today are quilling forms. In the last video I showed you 4 basic quilling forms. Well, in the 6 months, quilling has actually advanced quite a bit, which is crazy, but neat and exciting and fun, and I'm having a really good time with it. The majority of quillers do not reside in the US. They actually are in India and the EU, so I have found it necessary to switch my patterns from using the English system over to the metric system. This made the forms that I had been using, those wooden dowel forms, pretty much useless because no one in other countries could find dowels in that size. So I hired a woodsman, a wood craftsman, to make me these dowels, and I love them. There's 11 dowels, and they are all done, these ones are done in millimeters, and they range from 10 to 20 millimeters, so there's 11 of them. I painted the ends of them just for easy, remembrance when I'm looking at them, and because they're pretty, I like colors. But they're also, they've got the number of millimeters burned on there. And in the near future, I'm going to be having more sets of these made, going up into the centimeters. So it'll actually start at 10 centimeters and go up to 20 centimeters, which will be pretty big. So those, the great thing about these two, hold on, let me grab something, is that the ends of them are rounded. So there is this thing called 3D quilling, which I haven't really tapped into in any of my tutorials before, but I have a ton of patterns that use it, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So the thing that is great about these dowels is that they're rounded, so after you make a quilled circle, you can place them on the end and shape them out to create a 3D quilling shape like this. Now this isn't the only way to do this. You can use your fingers for sure, but the nice thing is you can get the perfectly round one like that. And then a cheaper option to be able to do that is Quilt Creations makes this thing, and they call it the mini mold, and the same thing, it's kind of limited in your sizes, but it's got these little bubbles, and you can place the circle on there and shape it out and make these 3D shapes, which is pretty cool, and you can do a lot of things with that. But anyway, so that's the cheap version. I think this is probably like, I don't know, $7 or something like that, and you can find that in my store if you want, or on quillcreations.com, they sell it too. Or you can use this version if you quill a lot like I do. I do have to say, these wood dowels, along with anything that's not plastic, you might have a little trouble with them getting the paper off, so I like to wrap mine in tape, packing tape, and then they slide off really nicely. And I've had some with tape on them for like years, not these ones, but my old English system ones. So anyway, I'm going to move those out. So those are on my website if you want them. They're quite expensive though. They're about 80 bucks, so definitely not for the beginning quiller, probably. Okay, so those are individual dowels, and some people like to work with individual items. I use both, but I like to use individual items and then use stacked tools. Definitely in my tutorials, because they're easy to store. It depends on how much space you have, but I do like being able, I can control the tension better, I guess, a little bit better on individual dowels like this than I can on tools like this, but these are good too. So anyway, if you want to splurge, these are a great thing for that. On the same notion of individual, I talked to you last time about using knitting needles to make little tiny closed coil rings. Well, I now have available these much smaller bamboo ones, and from here on out I'm going to be calling them quilling needle forms. They are also marked in the metric system, some millimeters. All of my patterns from now on will be in millimeters, but I will try to put some sort of a conversion, either a conversion tool, or I'll just write out the conversion so that people can use it. But anyway, these are amazing. I think these come in like 14 or 17 sizes, so you can do a lot with that. These you kind of have to do individually like this, but I am going to show you a way to make these, sort of. But these are not expensive at all. I want to say they're like a little under $13 for 17 needles, so not expensive. I would rather not make them and just buy them, but if you want to make them, I'll show you how to do that later. All right, also in the last video, I talked to you about glue and using the precision tip needle. And I had like makeshifted it using Eileen's tacky glue, and then I had like a thing. Well, anyway, I found these bottles and I think they're awesome. They're smaller than the ones at Quilt Creations. I haven't had them long enough, to be completely honest with you, to know if these things are gonna split. But they're really cheap, so yeah, whatever. The plastic seems to be a little bit more bendy, which is nice. When I've been using them, I can actually use all of the glue in the bottle instead of with the Eileen's tacky glue ones. The bottles were so thick that my hands started to hurt really bad when I was using them. So I like that about this. They're absolutely refillable. And then the thing I like best though are the caps that come on them. The ones that I got from Quilt Creations were hard plastic and they were constantly breaking. I never had one, so I had to stick a pin in it. These ones are rubber, and this bottle so far has lasted me a few months, which must be a record. I like it. I absolutely like it. When they get shipped to you, they're full of glue, which is nice too. So you get a little bit of glue plus a reusable bottle for $2 or something like that. Not bad. Let's see. Okay, and then I showed you last time as well the stacked quilling form that I had made, and told you that there was a free tutorial on my website, which is still there. It's still available, and that is in US sizing. However, same situation. I've found that I really needed to switch over to the metric system, so I did. I've made new stacked quilling forms out of paper in the metric system. And my next tutorial, I'm actually going to do a tutorial to show you how to do this. We're going to be doing the big one, but you can figure it out with the little one. Not too hard. But I've also had them made out of wood, and these are pretty fabulous as well. If you don't want to make them and you'd rather just buy them, I think they're a good deal. I mean, they're made out of wood and someone actually made them by hand. Again, you're going to have to cover them in tape if you don't want to be ridiculously frustrated. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to mark them, or if I'm going to mark the wood ones at all. But so I don't have a lot of these, but if you want one, shoot me an email or something. But I'm going to show you how to make these. So you don't need to buy these. If you don't want to, you can make them, no problem whatsoever. But I did want to show you that they're available, because I've gotten a lot of emails from people who said they just didn't want to waste their time making these. But so now you know those are available and they're really cool. Something else that I have been using that I love is their cuticle clippers, and these are now an absolute must in my cooling box. The time that these are really good, and you can get these at any drugstore for probably less than $5 for sure. The time that they're really great is when you're rolling something, you glue it, and it sticks up a little bit, and you don't want to re-roll it, but it looks like crap. So you can just use, they're just little tiny itty bitty scissors, and you can just go right up to the edge and choo. And I don't use it so much on things like this or jewelry, but when I do my pictures, that's the most frustrating thing ever. You've spent all this time and then you notice that there's like this paper sticking up and it just doesn't look right. So you can take these and get in there and chop off that little thing for, it's so inexpensive. Just buy yourself a pair and keep them in your kit. You'll use them way more than you think you would. All right, let's see, moving on, move this stuff out. The other thing that I have fallen in love with are these beading tools. And you know, people will argue that paper beads aren't quilling, but I don't really get that argument since it's still a slotted tool and you're still wrapping paper. But anyway, I bought these and they're great. You can just Google paper bead tools, I guess. The thing that I love about them and why I carry them, or not why I carry them, but why I use them, is for lots of different reasons. And you're gonna see them a ton in the tutorials that I have coming up, but I wanna show you. So I'm gonna, for doing things like when we do this big form, I mean, if you look at that and you're using a regular quilling tool, it seems outrageously daunting because that is a lot of rolling, a ton of rolling. But you use one of these and you can fit 4 strips in at a time and roll them. And where it doesn't matter how big or small your center hole is, I mean, you can do that so quickly. You see how much I've rolled in just a few seconds. It's amazing for that. And then not only that, but you can also make paper beads to expand on your jewelry. And you can buy this paper beading. See, it's at an angle, it's like a triangle, and it comes sealed on both ends, just like quilling paper does. And you just take it off the same as you would any quilling paper. And then you can use this beading tool and you just roll it. And this is exactly why I don't see how this could not be considered quilling. It's just the paper is triangular. And then you just glue that, you know, and you've got beads. Easy, easy beads. And now that you don't have to cut the paper yourself, it's a really, really simple way to add a bit of texture or, you know, different variation into your quilling. So I find that exciting. I've really enjoyed using them. I'm sure I'm going to come up with many, many more reasons to use them in the future. But once again, you don't have to use these. You can definitely double up and do the same thing, you know, with one of these quilling needle forms, if you have those, or even a pen. You could use a pen, I'm sure, something like that. You can figure it out. There's ways around all this stuff, but it's pretty neat. And then the last thing I wanted to cover with you in this quick video, and then I'm gonna sign off and do something else, but is just the different kinds of paper that are now available. Before we just kind of went over different lengths and 2 different companies, but I want to go over some of the new paper that I'm offering, just so you know that there's different variations out there. Right now I'm offering 2 lines. One is called the Culture Pop, and this is pretty much the same as Lake City Crafts and Quilt Creations. It's I mean, I think it's a little bit better, but essentially it's the same. The problem I've had with Lake City Crafts is their paper bleeds a little bit, but it's longer, so there's that. And then Quilt Creations, I've told you, I've had just a wonderful experience with them, but they're limited. So the thing that I love about Culture Pop is that I have designed them to work with quilled jewelry. So as you'll see in future videos, the color combinations have been matched so that they all go together and you don't have to try to put them together. You can, they come singly, but they also, just lots of different color variations. So there's that, but that's pretty much just the same as the other companies, not too much more. But then the other one is, it's called Pulp Pulp Friction. It is made out of pulp paper and it's extremely inexpensive. It's not good for all of your quilling needs, but it is a different kind of paper that is helpful in making things that you want to do quickly or that need to be really light. For example, when I made this smaller stacked quilling form, I use Culture Pop, but it's actually a little bit heavy. It's fine for this, but to make this one out of that, it would have been extremely heavy. And believe it or not, looking at this one weighs less than this one. And that's because the core of it, I made out of the Pulp Friction line. It's super, super lightweight, and it's also bulkier. It's 79-pound weight paper, so it cools up really quickly, especially if you do multiple strips at a time. So it's really great for kids. It's great for beginners. It's not as slippery, but it's really good for projects that you don't want to spend a ton of money on, or that you need to do quickly, or you can, cores and things like that. So it's really great for that. And then the other thing is the beading paper. That's new. I don't know if you can find that anywhere. You can find it cut into shapes, but not bound that I know of, but I could totally be wrong. And this comes in both of the lines, Culture Pop and Pulp Friction. And the other cool thing about this new paper is that it comes in way more widths. It comes in both US widths and in UK widths. So if you want it in millimeters, you can get it in millimeters. If you want it in inches, you can do that as well. So yeah, it works really well. And I've got a lot more videos to show you. So those are the non-essential but awesome quilling tools that you can think about and that I will be using in my future videos. And next up will be how to make the large stacked quilling form, so you don't have to buy it.